If you're a serious mobile executive, you've got to carry around a lot of stuff like a notebook computer, a fax machine, a cellular phone, an electronic organizer, and all the batteries and cables so they can work together. Or you can just carry one of these. This is a personal digital assistant, a PDA. In fact, this is the Expert Pad from Sharp. It's their version of a Newton. In fact, it uses Newton technology from Apple. Today, we'll take a look at a whole new class of computers, PDAs, on this edition of the Computer Chronicles.
Computer Chronicles is brought to you in part by Intel, microprocessor technology for the software of today and tomorrow. Intel, the computer inside. Additional funding is provided by the Software Publishers Association, providers of educational materials to help manage software. Don't copy that floppy. And by Hewlett-Packard, Personal Computer Division.
Welcome to the Computer Chronicles. I'm Stewart Cheifet, and with me today is Tim Baharin, President of Creative Strategies.
Hi, Stewart.
Just talking to you about your Newton, which you tell me you're actually using. Newton is getting all the PDA publicity these days, but there's lots of PDAs coming out. I want to show you two neat ones that just came out from England. These are lower priced, $499 for each of these. This is the Amstrad. It's got all the usual things. It does handwriting recognition. I was entering an address over there. Let me get out of that. And you know, you got your calendar, your to-do list. You got the scratch pad function where you just want to mess around with ink. Has a real nice metaphor for getting rid of something. You just pull the page out of the book and rip it out. This is interesting, the new Scion 3A. This doesn't have pen input but voice input. So if I want to leave a memo for myself, I don't have to write anything down. I just go over here and say, call Tim today at 5 o'clock. And when the alarm goes off, call Tim today at 5 o'clock.
Nice recording feature.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
These are very cute toys, very expensive toys. That's the question. Are they toys or is this a business? Do people really want to spend this kind of money to write electronically?
Well, it's not quite a business yet. I mean, PDAs show a lot of promise, and Newton and some of the things that are coming out are actually the beginnings of a really exciting new category. The problem is we really need a lot of software for this to work, so we're going to have good support from the ISV community before this really becomes a business. And when the software guys really jump in, then they'll take these things and make them sing instead of just warble.
Okay. Today we will see all the entrants in the PDA category, including Apple's Newton, the Zoomer from Casio, and the EO from AT&T. Now, if you're going to spend about $1,000 for a PDA, you really have to ask yourself, what do you want it to do? If what you really want is a palm-top computer, perhaps you should look at the 100LX from Hewlett-Packard.
Dale Reed and Merrill Lynch are part of Chevron's highly mobile workforce in California. They use the HP 100 because it combines portable computing functions with the communications features of a PDA.
You have to balance the fact that you've got a smaller screen, a smaller keyboard, with the fact that with the HP I only carry around one unit for my pager, my terminal, my schedule. Everything is in one small unit as opposed to a laptop, a daytimer, a modem.
HP 100s can share files through infrared transfer, and an HP connectivity package lets you download files from your PC. This lets you carry your desktop with you anywhere you go. For Dale Reed, that's essential, since he undergoes kidney dialysis 3 times a week. He gets a lot of work done during each 3-hour dialysis session. Thanks to his radio mail software, Dale can use the time to catch up on his email.
What it enables me to do is to message other users via internet, whether they're at Chevron or outside of Chevron. The internet works all over the country, and by using the modem, which is the RF modem, I don't need to connect to a telephone line. I can do it right here from my chair.
Dale says that once he got acclimated to the smaller keyboard, it was like he never left the office.
I like the interface capabilities of the HP 100, the fact that it is a DOS-based machine. It interfaces well with my PC. It runs DOS-based programs, and we're basically at Chevron a DOS and Windows shop, so it makes the communication functions and everything in that area easier to use.
For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Jonelle Patterson.
We wouldn't have the term PDA if it weren't for Apple. As everybody knows by now, Apple created the category and launched the first product, Newton, back in August. So we'll begin our look at PDAs with the Newton, and here to show us how it works is Tony Espinoza of Apple. Tony, give us a little tour of the box first.
Okay, this is the message pad, and it's what we call a communications assistant. So I'll show you the communications features. There's a serial port. You can connect this to printers and Windows PCs and networks. There's also an infrared port. Okay, so that you can pass information wirelessly between two Newtons. And of course, there's a PCMCIA card slot for adding software, RAM, or perhaps a wireless messaging card so you can receive messages anywhere you're at.
What are the brains inside the Newton?
There's a high-powered RISC chip called an ARM610 powering it, and a preemptive multitasking object-oriented OS on top of that that we can show you now.
All right, would you please show us how it works?
Okay. This is the notepad, and I've got a number of notes that I've written to myself here. Notice that they're all different. It's up to your personal style how you want to format things because it's like a piece of paper. You can scroll down, see various things that I've drawn. You can use handwriting recognition to input text. So I can use cursive or printed or a combination. Okay, and it deciphers that, cleans it up. I can go ahead and draw graphics as well, and all this without changing modes.
You're nice and sloppy, and it knows
nice and sloppy, and it still did it. Right,
okay.
Exactly. Understands things like various shapes that you might want to draw, even a circle.
Okay. What else can we do?
Okay. If I want to erase something from the screen, all I have to do is scrub it out, just like just like you wish paper would do. And I can even scroll up and show you that you can edit these things. So computer users would probably be used to manipulating objects on the screen and stuff. So this will give you an idea that you have some of those capabilities here. You can also use what we call electronic ink, so that you don't have to use recognition.
So just store it as an ink file.
Just store it as an ink, and you can manipulate them the same way, expand and contract.
Okay, what else?
Et cetera, et cetera. There's a routing slip that you see here in the corner that we use for accessing the communications. You'll see this slip over and over again. It's the envelope icon. And from it you can print, you can fax, you can beam, mail. Let me show you how you do that. I'm going to go to a letter that I already have written out. It's to a colleague here. Has both text and graphics in there. And I even have a little signature at the end here. If I click on the routing slip, I can go ahead and select that I want to send this to Bob and say fax. Okay. Now, there's an object-oriented database with all this information inside. So Newton's connected Bob's fax number with this document. I can say format this into a letter and choose to preview it.
So it has a kind of letter template in it and automatically does
Exactly. It actually knows my letterhead.
The way you like a letter to look, okay.
So here's the cover sheet that it generated. And this is a look at what it would look like in an 8.5 by 11 page, centered graphic and reflow text, and there's my letterhead at the top. Now I could send this to my outbox so that when I plug into a telephone line through a modem, I can go ahead and send it out. Or if I was connected some other way, I could go ahead and send it now.
Okay.
There are a number of built-in applications that are available to the user. There's a Rolodex file, names for keeping track of names and addresses. If you wanted to call one of these numbers, all you'd have to do is tap the number. It would bring up a slip. And I can tap call. Hold the phone up to the speaker, and Newton would actually dial the phone.
Yeah.
Okay. There are others. Again, you'll see this routing slip here. It's important to point out. You'll see it again and again. I could print this. I could beam my business card to you if you had a Newton, or mail it using Newton Mail. Another built-in application we have is a scheduling app, kind of a date book. Here's the to-do list portion of it. I can easily go to the calendar, and there's a look at my agenda for today. So there's lots of organizational software to keep track of things.
Before we run out of time, Tony, show me the interface with the PC we have over here.
In the extras drawer is an icon for connecting to the desktop. I can connect to a Macintosh or a Windows machine. Here I've got the Windows version of what we call
So this is the same letter we were just looking at inside Newton, so you just dumped it through the serial port into the PC.
And it's a standard Windows interface, so I can go through and look at things like my calendar as well.
And this is the same calendar you had in here, so you can dump up and back. You got the same data desktop.
Right. So I can create data here and load this thing up with data. Or I could make changes here and actually reconcile the information so that if a secretary changed a meeting here, I'd walk around with the proper
that's Newton. Great. Thanks a lot. All right, the success of Newton as an information platform will depend largely on how many applications are developed for it. So within weeks of launching Newton, Apple put together the first Newton Developers Conference.
1,500 developers have applications in the works for Apple's Newton, and a number of them showed up for the Newton Expo, an event designed to introduce the public to the growing list of applications available on Apple's PDA.
It's not just all about horizontal applications, but particularly also vertical applications for specific markets, like the medical market. There are several companies working on applications in the medical field, in the pharmaceutical field, for the transport industry, for the car industry, in the insurance industry, and so on and so on.
One new application designed for physicians is called Hippocrates. It lets doctors make notes on case histories, enter a diagnosis, or write prescriptions on their Newton while they're on rounds. Other programs include this one that evaluates your golf game. But the real focus is on communications applications for Newton, such as paging and wireless messaging.
Because the system has been developed from the beginning in a modular way for the communication industry of today and particularly of the future, we will see that in the near future a lot of new applications and specific ways of communication can be adapted and adopted into the Newton platform.
Developers' response to Newton's release was enthusiastic because of Apple's decision to go with a broad licensing program.
Now they will see products from Motorola, from Panasonic, from Sharp, and many others, Siemens, Rom, and so on, come into the market in the coming 12 months. And for them, that is a proof for success. So therefore, they are so eager to develop all those applications.
For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Jonelle Patterson.
One of the main competitors in the PDA market is the Zoomer, or now called the Z7000 from Casio. Here to show us what it can do is Bruce Mendel of Casio. Bruce, again, give us the little box tour first, and then we'll get to the insides.
Okay, this is the Casio Z7000 personal digital assistant. As you can see, it's got a protective cover that flips over. What we've done is made a consumer electronics product that combines the power of a PC and the best of pen and paper, which is ease of use. It's got a lot of expansion and communications possibilities. There's a serial port where you can communicate to modems, PCs, and printers. There's infrared communications. There's a speaker with a headphone jack. The pen fits right in the bottom, comes out and telescopes, and then there's navigational buttons here. There's also what we call a PCMCIA expansion slot, which allows you to use all sorts of expansion cards like SunDisk storage card. There's a Motorola Embark messaging receiver and an AMT PCMCIA modem that fits, all those cards fit right in the slot.
Okay, and what powers the Casio?
There's a custom 16-bit CPU that runs on very low power, so the batteries last up to 100 hours on a single set of 3 AA's.
All right, let's get inside and see what the Z7000 can do.
The way it works is it's got all the best that we could find of software companies available in the world. So it's the GEOS operating system, which is a multitasking operating system and allows you to get in and out of things without having to open or close anything. You can just switch quickly. Palm Computing made all the applications, one of which you're looking at now is the date book. Works just like pen and paper. You'd simply tap on a month and you'd open up a 1-month view. You can see you can write on the face of the month and it tells you where you have appointments. You tap on a day and it'll take you into that day and you can see your events. There's also a to-do list and a sketch page and you can mix text and ink freely anywhere. It has handwriting recognition built right into it, so I can take ink that I've entered here, which is what we call power ink, and I can ask it to recognize that ink. And you can do this at any time. So if you're in a hurry, you can scribble in ink. Then later when you have time, you can ask it, please recognize that, so you can alphabetize or search for it, and it'll put it up at the top of the screen right here. There's also other applications in here for personal information management. That would be the address book. Looks also, again, like a pen and paper address book. You see all the listings here. You jump to another letter, and you can just quickly open up. And again, you'll see the ability to mix text and ink and a sketch page anywhere, so you can draw maps and people's names. Intuit provided Pocket Quicken, which is personal finance, and that's a pocket version of the #1 personal finance software, Quicken. You can track all your spending, categorize things, and you can quickly reconcile bank accounts and come up with reports on what you've spent in the month in a certain category. Then there's other things in here as well. You can access this little icon at the bottom, and you can see there's America Online, which is telecommunications, and you simply grab a modem, and you can get stock quotes, make airline reservations, and send and receive electronic mail. There's a dictionary and thesaurus. There's a form calculator, which I'll show you real quickly. There's a language translator, which has 26 languages with a 1,000-word database built in.
This software is all in ROM?
All in ROM. There's 4 meg of ROM, and it's filled to capacity with applications. There's 3 games in here. And there's also a complete reference database with things like nutrition, U.S. city and state information, geography, area codes. The form calculator is pretty neat. It can just tap on one of the forms. It'll show me a loan form. And you can see you can just plug in by handwriting in numbers in here. And if, let's say I could only afford $1,000 for a payment each month, I could ask it to recognize that for me and then tap on the amount of principal it could take out, and it will change the amount of principal for me. So you can back solve all the equations very quickly.
What else we got?
Other things in here are games, because let's face it, a lot of the times when you're sitting on an airplane next to somebody, they're using these things for entertainment.
You're tired of working?
Right, exactly. So we put in 3 games. One is solitaire, one is called Pyramid Solitaire, which is a little variation of it, and another is called Uki, which is an Othello type game. And solitaire works just like you would expect it to work. It prints the cards up on the screen, and you can simply pull cards up to the top, and then you can turn over the next cards, and it'll quickly help you play the game, and you can have some fun with it.
You got a lot of software built into ROM. Do you also have software applications you could buy and use?
Yes, GEOS is an open operating system, so we'll have the ability to have all sorts of add-on applications. You'll see turbo storage cards, you'll see spreadsheets, you'll see communications, you'll see map and travel guides. GeoWorks is very good about doing training so that anybody who wants to write software can get trained in the GEOS operating system and write an application.
And what's the price on the Casio PDA?
The suggested retail is $899, and we expect to see it selling at discount for approximately $699.
So Newton, Casio will be about the same range?
About the same range, right?
Okay, thanks a lot. Coming up next, a look at the EO personal communicator from AT&T. If your primary interest in a PDA is communications, you probably want to look at the new EO 440 personal communicator from AT&T. Here to show us the next entrant in the PDA sweepstakes is Randy Stock of EO Incorporated. Randy, taking a look at these PDAs here, they're obviously different from what we saw with the Casio Zoomer and Apple's Newton. What's the positioning of these?
Well, the big difference here is these are really targeted to solving business communication problems. So they go beyond notepad and note-taker and organizer capabilities to provide integrated communications like fax, cellular telephony, and email, all built into the system.
So it's more high-end and the focus is communications.
Communications and business professional.
Got it. All right, now we have 2 models here. What's the difference between these 2?
The larger model is the AT&T EO 880, and it has a larger backlit screen and a faster processor. The smaller unit is the AT&T EO 440. It is a lighter and more mobile device.
All right, let's take a look at the 440, the little one, and show me what's on it. Go show me the hardware first.
Sure. Well, the hardware runs on a Hobbit microprocessor from AT&T. It's a RISC-based chip, very powerful. We include with the system a keyboard port, a parallel port, a serial port, a microphone and speaker, as well as a high-speed 14.4 modem, all internal into the system. We also
and it's obviously got a real telephone.
Right, a real telephone. So we have a cellular attachment.
So this is a cell phone / PDA.
Absolutely.
Okay, show us what it does.
Well, as you can see, it is a phone. I can make and receive voice telephone calls.
That's your antenna.
Got my antenna here for cellular. I can use it either by tapping in numbers off a keyboard, or I can tap into my address book here and select addresses or phone numbers that I want to dial and just dial them immediately. So the first thing you get with this is voice communications. And I can do that. But besides voice, I can send and receive messages. So people can send a fax from a regular fax machine to my EO, either over a cellular phone or over landlines. And I see here I have an inbox where all these documents have come into my EO. I have mail and fax messages. And say perhaps I had a meeting scheduled where someone had faxed me directions to that meeting. I can take a look at that fax on the screen of my EO, and we see here that information. If I want to get a little more detail, I can select a portion of that and zoom right into it so I can see a lot of information. Now say that I had a couple more people who wanted to attend the meeting. I can write directly on the screen and add some annotation here, like this. And then I can zoom back out if I want to see the entire screen. Now again, this just started as a regular fax that someone sent to me. Once I have any document in my EO, just like I might be able to print kinds of documents, I can send them. And in this case, I'll send this via fax. And I do that, it'll create a cover sheet and actually attach this old fax onto that cover sheet. I'll be able to fill out in an address book, once again here, selecting the people that I want to send it to. And if I want to send it to more than one person, I can do that as well. And we'll add that person and one more. And then I can go ahead, add a little cover note if I want to, and just send it on off. Can either go over cellular immediately to get to somebody if I'm in a real hurry, or if I want to save up a lot of messages, I can put them into my outbox, and then when I get back to a hotel or an office, plug in the telephone line and transmit all my faxes and electronic mail then.
Okay, what other features do we have in here, Randy?
Well, included as well, in order to stay in communications with people, you do need to keep yourself organized, keep your information together, your contact sort of things. So we have a built-in day planner organizer. It does provide you all your kind of appointments and to-do list. And just like I can write in either computer text or in ink here, if I want to take a real quick note, I'll just put it into ink. Perhaps later on I want to translate that. So I can go ahead and get that translated. It's translated my handwriting to say, meet Dan. And then what it'll do, because I have an intelligent associate working in the background for me, it recognizes that I have information about Dan in my system. So if I double tap on Dan's name, it'll bring up his whole profile of information, phone numbers, fax numbers, and a complete cross-reference of all the previous meetings we've had. Helps me keep track of who I've talked to, what I've talked to them about. So the communicator really is designed on solving business communication needs, the whole spectrum, telephone, fax, electronic mail, all built into a single device.
That's great. Now what's the price on the EO?
The EO440 starts at $15.99, and you can add options. This particular model is at $19.99. The 880 starts at $21.99.
And are there also third-party software applications that you can use in this?
Oh, absolutely. A wide variety of third-party vendors have built things to make superior ink processing kinds of things, note-taking kinds of applications, spreadsheets, databases, the whole realm.
And how do you get the software inside the EO?
You can do it a couple of different ways. We ship it with software that lets this hook up to a PC, and you can exchange files with that PC.
Okay, so you can go through the serial port in and out.
Absolutely. We also have a PCMCIA port in here that lets you stick in any kind of a PCMCIA card.
Okay, that's the EO. Thanks a lot. That is our look at personal digital assistants. Stay tuned now for this week's computer news on Random Access.
In the Random Access file this week, U.S. sales of PCs increased by 26% this past year, with IBM reclaiming its position of top computer seller from Apple. Compaq posted the year's biggest growth, more than doubling its U.S. computer sales this past year. Microsoft has introduced more than 5,000 software developers to Chicago, the next major version of the Windows operating system. They also got the word that it's now possible to write programs that will be usable on all of Microsoft's operating systems. By utilizing the Win32 application interface and OLE technology, developers can now write 32-bit programs that will run on Windows 3.1, Windows Chicago, Windows for Workgroups, Windows NT, and Cairo. The information superhighway got a boost this week from Bellcore, the research group owned by the 7 baby Bells. Bellcore will head up a research collaboratory that will search for practical ways for consumers to access the national digital infrastructure. Groups involved in the project include ABC News, Digital Equipment Corporation, Hewlett-Packard, and the Media Lab at MIT. Some of the services you can look forward to include electronic shopping malls, multimedia messaging, electronic libraries, and interactive multimedia entertainment. O'Reilly & Associates says its new Internet in a Box product will make it easier to access the digital superhighway. Internet in a Box is a kit containing TCP/IP applications and connection services, a copy of the whole Internet User's Guide and Catalog, and a subscription to the Global Network Navigator online service. It'll be available for PC users in a few weeks and for Mac users sometime in 1994. A New York-based company called CD-ONE will record up to 400 floppy disks of your data onto CD-ROM and deliver the disk back to you in a couple of days, all for less than $200. CD-ONE says the savings in storage for graphic images or customer files will pay for the cost of the transfer service. Lifestyle Software Group has a new offering designed to strengthen specific hemispheres of your brain. Multimedia HiQ for Windows is a modern alternative to traditional IQ tests, offering graphics, music, and sound along with tests which calculate your probable IQ range. HiQ sells for $49.95. Cyberdreams has announced the release of Cyber Race, a 3D combat and racing simulation game designed by film futurist Sid Mead. Cyber Race features landscape rendering technology, actors in dialogue, sound effects, and cinematic race sequences. Cyber Race is available for DOS or on CD-ROM. And you can find out all about the latest information on computer games, interactive multimedia, and CD-ROM in a new monthly publication called Electronic Entertainment. Features will include technology updates, game reviews and ratings, and hardware advice. The January '94 issue is on newsstands now. That's it for this week's Computer Chronicles. I'm Janelle Stelson.
Computer Chronicles is brought to you in part by Intel, microprocessor technology for the software of today and tomorrow. Intel, the computer inside. Additional funding is provided by the Software Publishers Association, providers of educational materials to help manage software. Don't copy that floppy. And by Hewlett-Packard, Personal Computer Division.
Video cassette copies of this program are available. Computer Chronicles also publishes a companion newsletter containing details on products demonstrated and information on program topics. To order a video cassette or a newsletter, call 1-800-799-4949 or write Computer Chronicles. Please specify program subject for tapes. All orders include a free software program for auditing software use and information on the definitive guide to keeping your organization's software legal.